Hey everybody, I'm really been looking forward to this call a long time. I haven't done an interview with anybody because I haven't found in a long time because I haven't found many people I really want to share with you, honestly. And I love this guy. He's got a YouTube channel which you've got to watch. And what I like about him is if you want to know what's really going on with AI, where the rubber meets the road, not the blue sky, not the, unicorns and rainbows, the real stuff you absolutely need to know. And so this call, we're going to talk about what he's learned, his perspective, which is really important, and we're going to get into that in a second because he's not just a guy that got interested in AI last year. He's been a software engineer, training software engineers, working with clients, running his own businesses for, well, how long is it, Spencer, that you've
So
been
I've
at
been
it?
doing software. I've been doing software development for 26 years. Been running different teams for over a decade, and we started doing our own consulting about 4 years ago.
Gotcha. And you also train people too.
We do. We're also a licensed vocational school, so we actually are training and onboarding all of our people. We've actually signed up as a registered apprentice program, which you have to be a licensed vocational school to do in Idaho, Utah, and Arizona.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, if somebody's going to tell me about the wonders of new roofs, let's say, for example, I want to hear from a roofer who,
Exactly.
who's put up roofs for at least 10 years. I don't want to hear from a guy that read it, last week, So, one of the things that you've been, and for people that I want to give you the guys where to find his website channel, we'll repeat it at the end. It's called Startup Hack, HAKK for hack, right?
Yep.
The website's the same, startup hack, HAKK, .com. So you can follow him there. We'll remind you at the end of at the call. Um, so one of the things you tell, and this is really important because some people are going to be hiring vendors to help them with AI. Maybe we should talk briefly about the dangers of AI, that it's not like a free ride, that you can get it horribly wrong. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there posing as experts who are getting it horribly wrong, and there are consequences to getting it horribly wrong. If we start the negative, and then we'll talk about the potentials after that.
So one of the things to understand is even at its best, AI right now is going to give you in a 75%, 75 to 80% accuracy range. So think about that for a minute. In software development, like we've talked about five nines for decades, right? And so it was, hey, this has to be reliable to five nines, which means 99.999, five nines,
Well,
right?
that's what 5.9 means.
That's what five nines means. It means it needs to be accurate 99.999. So you actually will find things that need to be six nines actually for levels of accuracy, right? And so these are actually levels of accuracy that are measured that way. And that's been a standard for a long time. Suddenly AI has come along, and like when ChatGPT 3 originally was launched, it was like 45% accurate and everybody lost their minds, right? Oh my gosh, this is amazing. So now today, Claude Code, Grok, some of these are batting close to 80%. We're seeing some software engineering benchmarks that are getting close. But that means that one out of every five times you ask it something, it's going to have a massive amount of inaccuracies. So you have to understand what generative AI is. It generates. So what it's literally doing is statistical pattern matching. And when it can't find things, it just fills in the gap. So in software development, when a machine doesn't know something, it returns a null, right? I don't know what this is. In generative AI, it actually, a null, it's just going to fill in the closest thing that it can figure out. And so that's the problem is it sounds really confident because it sounds right, right? Because it's going to the statistical pattern matching to what the most likely possible thing is, but it's only going to be in about 80% accuracy range.
Gotcha. So let's say you decide, hey, I want to use agents and I want to replace my staff, and I'll bring in an expert and he's going to put my company database and all my customer records and with their credit cards, and it's all going to be handled by AI, and the agents are going to do everything for me. Sounds so great.
In a demo, yep. In a perfect world, in a demo, it sounds all great until you actually move it to production, right?
Great. So what can go wrong when you put that kind of sensitive data on an AI system?
So this is a big one to unpack because there's a lot to go on here. So very first thing is you have to understand that as you build out the agent, you actually need to determine on the fact, like I said, that an 80% accuracy rate. So you've got to know that agent is going to hallucinate. It's not if, it's that it's going to hallucinate. So you need to stand up certain parameters. You need to be able to have different gates at different points that are going to be checking and knowing what correct input and output is going to be so that even as you're setting up those agents, you know exactly where to check before things happen. So one of the first mistakes is don't directly connect it to your database, right? You need to stand up API layers and different like layers between those agents and where the data is. That way also it can't like go rogue and go off into some of those other places that it doesn't need to, right? And so those are one of the first parts of it. So then as you're moving along and working on implementing it, you also want to make sure that you're, putting those checks and balances and also always keep, you'll hear the term human in the loop. There needs to be places that a human is going to verify things. So before I would ever send an invoice out to the customer, it's fine if you want to have it generate invoices for you, but I probably wouldn't set it up to automatically go out to the customer. A human should probably review that notice first and then ship it off. Now, is there a huge amount of savings in the fact that it could generate the invoice and get it all the way to a human who scans it, approves it, says, yes, go ahead and send? And that's what we call human in the loop. So you want to try to find those places where you keep the human in the loop.
Gotcha. I have a brother that used to, when he was still, before he retired, he was a corporate attorney doing bonds and stuff. And they used to sleep at the printers because, this document's coming out and it's got to come out on time. And mistakes are just so heavy. And one year he told me somebody, it wasn't him, and it wasn't his firm, the company was supposed to put up, I think, $500 million worth of, what do you call that? When you get a loan, you have a loan against your property.
Your assets or against
Yeah,
your, okay.
forget the term, it's a banking term. And so that was the deal. Well, somebody missed it and it
Hmm.
was missing a zero. So it was very ridiculously favorable to the lender because now they only had to put up $500 against the loan. It's 500 million, 50 million instead of 500 million. Big
Crazy.
problem. You don't want to bill a client that you did, $20,000 in work for 20 bucks,
Right.
right? So, okay, good. Now, how about security? There are things if you're connected to the internet, um, what are some of the security risks when you're using AI or something that you've created or somebody's created for you that you think is marvelous and is doing all these amazing things, but it may be potentially letting people come in and do things. And what kind of things can people do and how do they get in?
So let's kind of zoom back just a little bit. So you remember, I'm sure, and I'm sure a lot of our audience remembers, when Facebook came out, oh, I can't put my name online. Like I couldn't possibly like put my pictures and my name out there. And it's so funny how far we've gone from now. Over 90% of workers in the workplace right now are pumping customer data into these frontier models. So it's actually a huge problem in the enterprise right now where they're just taking straight up invoices, customer numbers, credit cards, all this stuff and just pumping it up into these frontier models with the assumption that it's safe. But the irony is it's not. And it's very open. And they train against that data. They use it. It's actually very easy to get it to regurgitate back. You can actually go look up. There's a ton of studies right now because there's a bunch of lawsuits going against OpenAI and Anthropic because you can actually get 90% of the Harry Potter books back out of these AIs.
Okay. And if let's say somebody is for some crazy reason putting all their customer data using one of these services, that data is not safe.
Nope.
Yeah.
It is definitely not private. It's definitely, and go read the terms, right? Especially if you're on a free plan. Yeah, it's wide open. They openly admit they're going to train against that data that you're putting in there. Even on some of the lower non-team or non-enterprise plans, that data is not promised to be private at all. And it's actually very easy. People call it jailbreaking to jailbreak the models and get that information back out.
So somebody could be out there scavenging ChatGPT and saying, "Hey, find me the customer list of my competitors."
Absolutely.
Wow, and I imagine that's happened.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's definitely happening. It's happening all over the place. And it's really kind of like, again, AI has come out and everybody lost their minds. Oh yeah, we got to do this. And it's just, it's crazy how much we've swung so far with the craziness around AI right now.
Somebody did a very funny video with a CTO, but you know, a corporate, typical corporate CTO, who's just spouting absolute nonsense, you know, just formulaic, ridiculous stuff. And then the side, so there was him saying, and then there was a real programmer going, you know, like just going, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? You know? And that seems to, it's a strange cultural thing, but when people sometimes get to the C-level suite, they sometimes lose connection with reality, right? And in when you're dealing with computers and data, that's quite a dangerous situation to be in. So so these are things that if somebody's going to hire an expert to come in and help them. Oh, by the way, I want to point out to everybody, you do like, you know, for a price, and you have a certain minimum, you're available to come in and work with a company that wants to do this right. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, so we actually run a consulting service, and so you can actually see some of these machines over my shoulder here. We actually build out custom AI on hardware that you own, top to bottom. And so we did this, and we were doing this for so many of our customers that we actually built out a full stack that we actually launched about 3 weeks ago. It's already gotten up to almost 1,200 stars on GitHub. We open sourced the whole stack, so you can actually own your entire AI stack, and we've open sourced the entire thing. So from agent all the way down. So what you see behind me is some of these inference servers that will actually run this. And we actually provide a free relay, or for a price, if you want a private corporate relay, we'll help you set it up. But you know, so we actually do a lot of software consulting for people who want to implement AI into their organization in a safe way where they own the entire stack.
Great. So let's go through some terms there for our non-technical listeners. So a stack. What are we talking about when we're talking about a stack?
So right now, when you go to ChatGPT, you pull it up and you see a little box and you say, I'm going to type stuff into that, right? What that's doing is it's actually sending off across the web, going out to what's called an inference server. And these are usually large servers running series of GPUs or graphical processor units, right? These GPUs are what are powering AI. See, we talked earlier about how AI is statistical pattern matching. So it actually came about because originally what they are is so think of like an Excel spreadsheet. That's like a 2 by 2 array, right? Now think of multi-dimensional arrays where it's actually think of billions of different directions of spreadsheets. So instead of just two direct dimensions, it's billions and billions. So when you hear about like, hey, this is a 700 billion parameter model, it's actually mapping all of that data in that way. So it's a bunch of vector math, and that's the reason why they use graphics cards for it. Because
Oh,
see,
okay.
graphics cards were originally built to do vector math, like when the bullet comes out of the gun in the video game and it tracks
Right.
across, that's
Right.
a vector that's actually tracking across the screen. So in the same way, we're doing vector math very fast, faster than we can really kind of even comprehend. And that's the reason why GPUs or graphics cards is what everybody's going for. You know, there's a lot of noise right now about don't build these data centers, and a lot of people going against these graphics cards are extremely power hungry, very, very, very power hungry. Your bottom line one is running about 600 watts. So to run that thing at full power, and high-end ones are running usually around 1,300 watts. So it's not uncommon, you know, and so like that's a ton of electricity. And so you're pulling a lot to do high-end processing because it's a very, very fast processing. But again, it's just statistical pattern matching based on this vector math. So that's what's happening in a really high process. So you need to have a powerful server like these ones back here over my shoulder. They're not that expensive. You can actually go find a pretty standard gaming machine for anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000, and you can get yourself a pretty good stack that most of your company is going to be able to run on.
So stack
Again,
means the machine plus the chips.
yeah, means the graphics cards plus a server. And this is something that you can host in a decent hosting closet. And I don't mean like anything crazy. I just mean like where your network, you know, so if you go to an office and you have like your network cables and all that good stuff, right? You know, where you keep most of your backups or that kind of things, you know, the network closet. You can stick a server like this one in there, and now you can own the entire like stack all the way from inference all the way up. So I can actually share my screen and show you a little graphics if you want, because
So you don't, so in other words, instead of going out to ChatGPT, you've got the whole thing in your office. under your
Exactly.
control.
And you own the whole thing, the
So
whole system.
so that security thing is no longer an issue. Having intellectual property stolen is no longer a thing.
Yep.
Having the government surveilling what you're doing is no longer a thing. Okay, interesting. Okay,
And then on top of it, what's even more important is so many people are building their businesses around making API calls. So they'll be like, well, I want to get into AI. What's the first thing they do? They go take their software and they wrap it around a service that is actually just calling out to ChatGPT. Well, what happens when OpenAI or Anthropic or Gemini or any of these or Google go and change the model? Their whole business is centered around the fact that they're calling out to this third-party service, expecting certain formats to return. And the other thing that we're seeing about this, and this is true on ChatGPT 5.5, Opus 4.7, Gemini 3.1, people are tracking it, and the accuracy of the model actually varies day to day based on how busy it is. So one accuracy level you get one day, you may not get the next day. So you're building your whole like software stack around this house of cards. And that's the other reason why owning it yourself is more important because you own it. There's no other variable to it. You set it up, you know the full stack.
gotcha. And so this is obviously helpful for people that are going to automate business processes. Um, and now, from my point of view as a writer, I love ChatGPT and Claude and all that because it can go out on the internet. And I want to know if this system could do it too. And when I do a research, I say, hey, find out everything about X. And it is amazing. It will generate something in a second that would really take me like a day at the library, which is, pretty good cost savings, time
Yeah, for
savings.
sure.
I love being able to take a document that somebody sent me, some 400-page, monster, and drop it in there and interrogate it. I love that.
Yep.
Um, what else do I like? That's pretty much. I mean, and also I use it as a writing partner. I'll be tired some nights, and I'll say, hey, this paragraph, it kind of sucks. Can you find some better words? And I
Yep.
don't necessarily go along with it, but it will give me. It's like a writing partner who goes, well, here's an alternative. So and I like the idea of because I'm in fear. I can remember when there was a jet plane called the what was it called? The Concorde. You know, I think it flew from France to New York in 3 hours. And
Hmm.
now it's gone. So every day I had this nagging thing that, oh my God, someday they're going to just pull the plug on all this stuff, or they're going to change the pricing, or they're going to lower the quality, or something really bad is going to happen to it. I don't want to lose it. So I think we have people who want to automate or already quite sophisticated about automation, and they want to know how can I fold AI into this safely, intelligently. And I think there are even people like me who are writers, researchers who'd like to, I'm definitely willing to pay the money. Nice to save the $20 a month that I'm spending, or actually it's more because it's a bunch of different services. But the main thing is I just want control.
Hmm.
So would somebody be able to do just that sort of modest goal that I have of having a writing partner, research partner?
Yeah. So we actually build those custom systems for companies, and we usually work in what I call the mid stack, right? We're not usually working for really small companies, but
Right.
we're definitely not anywhere near the Fortune 500 folks, right? So we like your middle tier folks, usually people who are usually venture backed or else, doing really well themselves. But that's part of the reason why we wanted to democratize this process, right? We wanted to actually be able to bring it out to the people. So that's why we actually open sourced this project about a month ago. It's called OpenMonoAgent.ai.
Open mono,
Like so
MONO.
single. Yep. MONO. Like so OpenMonoAgent.ai. And our mantra to this, I wrote this, so I'm really proud of it. So it said AI shouldn't be a subscription that you rent. It should be infrastructure that you own, sitting on your desk, serving your code, answering only to you. And the whole point to that is we want to democratize this so that everybody can run their own AI stack from top to bottom and own the whole thing.
And that includes the large language model and all that
So
stuff.
we're actually using various different models based on what hardware you have. So when you run the script, it actually detects what hardware you do or what hardware you have. And then based on that hardware, we actually have picked the models for you. But remember, those models are then contained, and you can also go swap it out because it's all open source. So we're giving you everything. This is like we're not anywhere in the middle. We're really giving you all the answers to the test. And so you can actually then go and swap out any piece of it that you want to. And we have people, somebody just did what's called a pull request and suggested a change just this morning that my team brought to me and said, hey, this is actually a really good idea. So we accepted that. And that's kind of the beauty to open source models.
Great. So as it improves, everybody that's in the loop can improve as well.
Yep.
So if somebody wants to do this themselves, if they're savvy, that you've provided a lot of free resources.
We have. I can share my screen if you want
Okay,
to
yeah,
really
please
quick.
do. Yeah, please do.
So it looks like I just sent a request. So if you'll
Okay,
accept
very
that
good.
there, then I can share my screen here and I can show you guys a little bit about how to do it because it's pretty easy. We've made it. Now, again, you're going to be, a little technical here. So let me know when, I don't know if that, oh, there we go. Okay. So let's share this here and I'm going to go through this a little bit.
Okay, great.
So this is actually the site that we've started. So it's openmonoagent.ai. You can see, what I was just talking about here, but you can, so I'm going to scroll down to the bottom really quick and give you kind of a quick, like little diagram here. So you can see these servers over my shoulder here and you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Um, but you can see this is your inference server. This is the guy that does the heavy lifting. We then provide this secure relay and you can run your local agent on anywhere, right? So this is where you can actually run it on like a laptop, on a desktop. We're building a Visual Studio Code plugin so that you can actually use a really nice graphical interface. We've also recently just launched our own app. So actually, if you go here, you'll actually see that we've actually give away a free app where you can actually then use an app against your own inference. And then all your data just actually sits on your phone. But it never goes into the public cloud. This is all completely for free. Now you're like, well, where's the open source? Okay, so this is actually the...
Could I just jump in for a second? I'm sorry. So
Sure.
basically it's a server.
It's a server plus a service because nobody ever wants to sit at a terminal, right? You don't want to sit at a terminal on a server and do this, right? So the beauty to this is this will go anywhere. So anywhere that you are, right? Because this relay here is this server is your own stack, right? This is your own stack, your own. Now
So if let's say I got 10, let's say salesmen or something,
Mhm.
and they need to report every day and I need to put things out to them and they need to put in all the information about the customers. They need to put the orders in, all
Yep.
that kind of stuff. I run this infer server.
The inference server. Yep.
Yeah.
Inference.
Okay. So I run that thing and then anybody that I give permission to who's under my umbrella can log into it and use it and take advantage of it.
Correct.
Wow.
And so you'd want to get a little bit bigger hardware here. So we actually recommend an RTX 5090 and we tell you right up front, what to expect with this. But this, we've actually got 10 developers working against this at one time and it ran comfortably with 10 different developers on it. So it was very, very much worth that. Now, hardware on this one was about $4,000, give or take, $4,000 to $5,000. So just kind of being upfront. But again, you own it. Like that's the best part of this is you own the stack. And so like especially when you want control and privacy, this is one of the biggest things that we're going to find. And I'm guaranteeing you 3 or 4 years from now, people are going to get more wise to this. There's going to be a lot of lawsuits that are going to happen and people are going to get a lot more wise to the fact that we've been pumping customer data into the cloud and they're responsible for that. So this hardware here that we spell out gives you that. Now you're wondering where you go get it. This is the GitHub repo where we open source the whole thing. You can see we're still making commits to it every single day. You can see a lot of activity going here. You can see we're at 1.1 thousand stars. So this was released about 3 weeks ago. So this is growing very quickly. You can guess how popular this is going to be really quick.
Oh, wow. So you get machine recommendations based on what you intend to use the thing for.
Yep.
And then you can go out and buy your machine. Now you talked about you said a relay?
So the relay is how you connect to it. So this is a secure connection that allows your agent, right, which you're going to run, to connect to your inference server because nobody wants to pack their server around with them everywhere they go, right? These are powerful machines and we're getting more and more powerful down on the laptop and everything, but this allows you to run this from a local machine anywhere in the world. So this secure relay then allows you to basically call home to that server anywhere and like it's completely doesn't matter whether you're sitting literally next to it or my developers are all over the world and they'll connect to the inference servers that I have here in my room.
And you can have multiple agents on a single infrastructure.
Yeah, and we're actually building out very sophisticated agents. So a lot of people, and you may not have worked much with these, but if you've worked with Claude Code or Claude Cowork, these products use something called a skill. And so it's like a skill is going to be like, let's say I want to work on accounting. You're going to download an accounting skill, and that's going to teach the agent how to work as an accountant. Well, we actually have implemented something called playbooks. And this is something that allows you to train the agent to do very specific things. You remember at the beginning of the interview here, we talked about, hey, you want to make it do this step and then this step and do this check and then have it do this thing. These playbooks allow you to actually do that. So you set up the parameter validation, you do the step anatomy, you do these gates, you then do the context control, and then you do the composition, right? And as part of this, the cool thing is the agent actually will help you build this. It actually knows how to help you build it, but you build these and this actually tells the agent exactly how to do it. So this is the orchestration system that we've built into our agent. And again, all open source. We're giving it all away for free. There's nothing. All we want to do is be able to establish ourselves as experts in this field.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And then again, if you have multiple people in your company, they can all be drawing on this resource
Yep,
from wherever they are. Um,
exactly.
and again, you call it a relay. Is it so? It's a physical line, and then it goes to, I guess, it connects to the phone line, or connects to the so that people can dial in.
Sorry, I was muting a call here.
Oh
So
yeah, no problem.
no, it's all right. So this actually goes across the internet. So I mean, you wouldn't dial up. This goes over the internet, but it's in secure packets. So as this goes across the internet, it's secured from one end to the other. So it's using these tokens that you set up when you set them up, and these tokens then are encrypted into every packet that goes back and forth.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, you can see how long I've been doing online stuff when I think in terms of dial-ups and servers.
Yep.
Um, okay, so can you so what you've made available is okay, guys. Here's how you do it. Here's the it's the software. I mean, is that what you call it? The
So this is, I mean, so this is the whole thing is it will actually help you. You actually copy this one command,
yeah.
you install it onto the inference server, and
Okay,
then you also run that same, and it'll say, hey, do option 1, 2, or 3, where you can hold the whole stack on one server. You can do just the inference, or you can do just the agent install, right? So you'll actually do these on the different servers, on the different parts accordingly, but it's all the same command. And what this does is it's pulling from the GitHub repo, pulling the code, compiling it right there on your machine, and allowing you to configure it exactly and walks you through the configuration. So, this isn't something that necessarily grandma's going to do, but like we've definitely tried to make this simple so that somebody, relatively technical can set this up without understanding and knowing every piece of how AI works. We're going to set it up, but then you can dive in and learn every one of these pieces yourself. The thing I love the most about this is I love people learning. That's why I run a YouTube channel. That's why I hire registered apprentices. That's why I do, I train juniors. A third of our staff are juniors that we've trained up ourselves because I love to train people. Because at Startup Hack, we love to help people build custom software, including learning how they do it all themselves. So that's why we love this. Now, that being said, if you're like, look, Spencer, I just don't want to deal with it. Come in and do it for me. Great. That's why I have a business, right?
right,
And so
right.
we love to come in and help companies to implement these complex systems themselves. See, you mentioned earlier in the podcast, what we're talking about is we are seeing inference costs go up. We're seeing the cost of tokens go up. We're seeing, for 3 years now, this has been subsidized by venture capital money. Now we see OpenAI and Anthropic running to an IPO. They have to get profitable. So what are they going to do? It's kind of like that same thing that happened with those bag of chips, right?
Right.
The old bag of chips there, used to be that you got the full bag of chips, right?
Right,
Now
right.
you get the bag of chips and you get like three-quarters air, right?
If you're lucky now,
Right.
now it's like a
So
third or a quarter.
exactly. So same bag, same
Yeah,
cost, but less chips, right? They're
yeah.
doing the same thing with the tokens because they've got to get profitable. And inference is super expensive, but it becomes really cheap when you just pay $1,000 to $4,000 for your own system. Get a system like this that's open source, build your own stack, and you own the whole thing. Nobody's going to rug pull you. No one's going to change the model on you. You have full control of it.
Yeah, I think the rug pull thing is inevitable. I'd love your opinion on this. That's one of the great things about Spencer's show, especially when you have your son on. Do you still do shows with him?
We do. We try to do them every Tuesday. We miss every once in a while. We had to take a little sabbatical for a little bit, but we're back
He's
every
quite a
Tuesday.
savvy guy for, I mean, maybe because I'm old, everyone looks young, but he's awfully savvy for such a young person.
Yep, he's actually a COO of his organization, and so he's 26 and already a COO. So
And he's knowledgeable. I mean,
yeah.
he brings a lot to the table. It's
Well, it's because he was raised by definitely a nerd, right? And so my kids have all had to, I've actually forced all my kids to learn to program, even though none of them have gone on to program professionally, but I've
okay.
made them all learn so they can understand. And that was actually by design. I didn't care if they learned to program. I wanted them to just have that perspective to bring into whatever field they went to.
Yeah, I think it's so important, especially if you're going to be in business, because you're going to have to deal with IT if
Hmm.
you're in business.
Yeah.
And if you're like me, unfortunately, who knows nothing, you're always kind of vulnerable. You know, you don't really know what's going on. You kind of have a sense. I've been lucky with my senses, but my instincts, but still, I would have much rather had a, fluency in what the thing's all about, so that when you're talking to a vendor, you can kind of find out, does this guy really know what he's talking about or not?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at these companies, and obviously they're from a business point of view, they're dumpster fires. They're dumpster fires in the making,
Yep.
right? I mean, it's like 1 trillion out, and how much you're going to get back on that, guys? Like, because it's all money out, money in. At the end of the day, whatever you're doing, even if you're flying to the moon, you got to have money in, money out. So what do you think's going to happen when these things start falling apart?
I'm not sure. Like right now, the crazy thing about it is we're hearing a lot about it. They're too big to fail. Now, that's, but ultimately at the end of the day, like, so we just recently in the last week saw Anthropic overtake OpenAI. They now are generating more revenue than OpenAI is, right? So, and they were the latecomers, right? Google, I think, is going to be the dark horse in the race, if you want my opinion, because Google's been around for a long time. They have the most data. Their tensor processors are much cheaper than NVIDIA's. And so I think there's a lot of things that you're going to see. My opinion is I think you'll see Google outlast them because right now, I think it's a game of poker. I think everybody's coming to the table with their chips, and Google's coming with chips that are paid for with revenue, right?
Mm,
OpenAI, Anthropic, they're trying to figure out how they're going to get the next dollar that they're burning on AI. See, Google can belly up to the table there and say, hey, look, like we've got the deepest pockets, right? Go look at their quarterly earnings from just the search revenue from last quarter. It's incredible. I think it was $60 billion that they made just in one quarter on search revenue. They can outspend anybody right now. And what did they do? They built their own tensor processors, which is like those GPUs that I'm talking about.
yeah.
They're slightly different and they work with their AI and they're really, really efficient. And so I think Google's going to beat everybody in the big race here. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with Anthropic and OpenAI. Anthropic right now is winning because their coding tools are the best. So pretty much if you're a developer, you're using Claude Code right now.
Gotcha. And if somebody were to set up their own system using what you teach them, could they run Claude on their own machine, or do they run
They
something?
don't need to. They own the whole thing. They have their own
Oh,
Claude.
okay. So this is the part I'm missing. But isn't that Claude's proprietary system that has all the genius? So where is the genius coming from that ends up in these machines? And this is a very primitive question, but I'm probably not the only one asking it.
So there's a lot of different parts that go into what we call AI, right? You hear about the model, hear about the agent, you'll hear about the framework, you'll hear about the system prompts. There's a lot of different pieces. The best analogy I can give you, and it's a very loose analogy, and so the nerds out there are going to kill me, but this is a very simplified analogy.
Okay.
So you have your model, which is like the motor of a car, right? I
Okay.
can take a beautiful Ferrari motor and set it on the table, and we could all look at it and go, wow, that's neat, but it doesn't really do us anything, right? The
Gotcha.
model by itself actually doesn't really do much. It needs to have a framework to go into. And we'll call this the drivetrain, like the transmission and the whole drivetrain, right? So you can put the car in. But even still, if you do that, Ferrari still isn't all that sexy if you're looking at it with just a motor and a transmission, right? You're
Yeah.
like, oh, it's cool. Like a mechanic might think that looks really cool,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the normal layman's not gonna. And then that's where we come into the whole wrap around it, the agents or the framework around it, right? And that system is like the prompt if you're going to it. So the UI, the interface you're using to interact with the model, right? So each of these play a different part. So if you're using Claude Code, you're going to actually spin up the actual agent locally on your box. And you don't know it because all you're doing is typing Claude Code or opening the Visual Studio, a browser plugin or plug-in, right? Or if you're using Cowork, you're going to do a plugin into your browser, right? And then do something through your browser with it. So those are actually the agents that are running. It's kind of like the shell of the car, the nice steering wheel, the leather seats, right? So, excuse me, the interior knows exactly how to work with that motor and that drivetrain. And that's actually where, and so where we're actually reaching the point of diminishing returns on the model. And everybody keeps saying, but AI is getting better. Well, yeah, the motors aren't getting any stronger. We're not seeing the models actually get that much better. The benchmarks aren't getting better.
Right.
But what you're actually seeing is all the frameworks and the agents getting smarter and smarter and smarter. See, they know how to work with the model. They know what to happen if the model gets stuck in a hallucination loop. They know what to do if the input comes back as gibberish, right? Like the agent actually knows how to work with this. And that's was the brilliance of Anthropic is they said, look, instead of going all in on the model, see, OpenAI said, we're going to make AGI. We're going to hit and make the model so it knows everything.
Right.
Anthropic said, no, we're going to go all in on the agent. So they actually built out Claude Code, Claude Cowork, all these other tools that we see coming out every day because they're all just variations of the agent and the agent knowing how to do it. So the agent tools continue to get better to work against these strong motors.
Okay, and then what ends up, let's say I get a box and I configure it and all this. Do I have all that? What do I have on the box? I don't have Claude on the box. I don't have ChatGPT. What do
Well,
I
in this
have?
case, you'd have open mono agent.
Okay, and so Open Mono Agent is the engine
So
with the
naturally,
framework?
we're composed of many different parts, right? And
Okay.
so the we actually use open source models, right? So
Yeah.
in this case, we're using Quen 3.6. In a lot of cases,
Okay.
you'll use a lot of different models, but you can swap that out. That's the whole point. You own the whole stack. So when I say the whole stack, I mean like somebody's like, well, hey, I know that this task I'm doing does better with Gemma 4, right? Which is Gemini's open source version.
Yeah.
Great, swap it out. You can swap it out. You own the whole thing. The framework is using llama.cpp, which is an open source framework for running these models. The agent itself is actually custom written by us, written in C sharp. So, but again, you have access to the whole thing. The, the mobile agent that we just released, right? That's actually another custom piece. We actually haven't open sourced that. Not really sure if we will. We might. And then we're actually releasing a Visual Studio Code plugin so that if you want to code with it, then you can also do that there. But this was actually designed to be a coding agent for free.
Gotcha. So I guess the amazement I have as a layman is I've been indoctrinated that, only ChatGPT, only OpenAI and Google and Facebook and Microsoft with their trillions of dollars and their vast data centers and their tens of thousands of program. They're the only ones that could create this. Like,
Nope.
okay, this is maybe the key point of the
You,
whole
you
talk.
see these things over my shoulder.
Yeah.
Well, let me grab one thing really quick here.
Okay, sure.
So what's even better than that is we actually have found a particular box out there that you can buy for between $600 and $800. And then we have a link to it online. So it's not like we're keeping it a secret. But this little guy here will actually run inference for one person.
Wow. So the thing that I need to do, which is drop long documents in and use
Mhm.
a writing partner.
This guy will do it all. It'll be a
Oh,
little slow. It'll be just
okay.
slightly slower, but you can own the whole thing. This thing runs on 25 watts. We're actually building some products on it where we're going to run it off of a battery. So you can actually have all of your stuff totally offline, even in like your bug out bunker, right? And so we're actually building some products on this right now. So you can have AI in a box.
Wow. Okay. And that's
Now,
on
again,
Quinn.
this is only going to run for like one person. It's going to be a little slow,
Okay.
but
Okay.
like these guys back here, this white one you see back here,
Yeah.
we actually tested that one to
Yeah.
run 10 developers simultaneously on.
10 software developers.
Yep.
Wow.
And
Okay.
that one ran about 400 or about 4 grand. I got it for about 4 grand. So you're going to pay about $4,000 to $5,000 for that hardware. But again, this guy here, $600.
Gotcha. Hey, the entrepreneur in me is wondering, well, what if I want to offer a service to the public um, using my own AI server? I'm just going to have to grow the server farm. I mean, right? There's no way
Yep.
around that.
So funny you should ask. We're actually launching some of our own products. One of
Oh,
them is
okay.
called corptrainer.ai. So if you go
Okay.
look up corptrainer.ai,
Okay.
it actually is an AI LMS learning platform. So basically, like let's say everybody has to go and do the harassment trainings and all that kind of
Oh,
stuff, or
yeah,
you want
yeah,
to,
yeah.
or let's say you have a 200-person sales
Oh,
team and you're like, hey, I want everybody to go do this training.
yeah.
So you actually upload and build all your training. It gives you all the LMS, but also builds in the whole AI part of it. So you actually get all that training and you can chat with the chatbot about the training and about all your company documents. So now I want you to take all of your company documents, upload them into this system, build out trainings for it so your people can go and do the trainings, but then not only that, after they leave, they can go back to their desk and still chat with it about all of that material. So it
Gotcha.
basically builds a company brain. So all of
Wow.
that
Okay.
housed in one private server that we host for you, and we host the server for you, and voila, you have a full private brain for your company. So that's CorpTrainer.ai. Next one we're launching is we're also launching one for lawyers who want to keep their data out of the cloud. So they can
Mm.
actually have a full client management system with all the AI tools built in, 100% private.
What's that one going to be called? Do you have a name yet?
SwiftCaseLegal.ai.
Okay.
That one's about a month away. We're going to be launching that one in about a month.
I,
We're
I'm
almost
so
we're
I'm
almost
so
done with
glad
it.
you're doing this because it makes a lot of sense. For instance, I don't run my own web server. I use a company and they've got a box on a rack somewhere. If there's disk
Yep,
breaks or whatever, they replace it.
exactly.
And I'm glad you're going into that business. It'll probably be a pain in some ways, but I think it'll be well, people will love it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sure.
the biggest thing right now is to get an enterprise, provided with OpenAI. And I think what my thesis is, and I know a lot of people who aren't being allowed to put their data up into the company and into public cloud, even with those private enterprise programs. And the minimum enterprise program right now is $10,000 a month with OpenAI. And so, like, if you want those private systems, it's very, very expensive. We're providing very cost-effective solutions for those. Now, again, if you, and the other thing too is we're also even allowing people who don't mind if their data is on a server with other people's, like we're keeping it segregated, but at the same
Right.
time out of the public cloud,
Right.
right? So we're still hosting it out of the public cloud. Costs are a lot lower than for a shared box. But again, it's only shared with a very set number of people, data segregation, all that stuff, but it's out of the public cloud.
Gotcha. Wow. So a lot to take advantage of and to think about. And
Yeah.
if I were to sum this up from my perspective, it's first of all, you want this capacity. It's not all hype. I guess I always, when the web came along, I was always reminded of the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. His mother gave him a cow. He goes to town. He trades the cow for magic beans, and she's like, "You idiot!" So threw the beans out. Well, they were magic beans, but you had to climb that beanstalk and fight the giant, and then I guess you got a pot of gold or whatever the payout was. And so that's what the web was like. It really was miraculous. We weren't making it up in
Yeah.
1993 and 94 when we were saying it was going to change the world. And this, despite all the hype and all the nonsense and the hot air, there is a core here that is really you kind of, if you're, I'm sort of, I don't have to worry because of my age and where I am and stuff in my career. But boy, if I'm 50 or less, or even 60 or less, and I think I'm going to have another 10 years at stuff, you gotta make peace with this. And
So remember, the
yeah,
truth is in the middle, right?
right,
There's the hype and there's the skeptic, right? The
right,
truth is somewhere in the middle. And that's usually what I've found through my career is the truth is somewhere in the middle. And that's true. So even like I talked about at the very beginning, generative AI is only going to be at best 70 to 80% accurate. Well, but you want these agents to do these things. Great. You need to build into the fact that it's only going to be that accurate. So in a lot of our cases where we're doing data processing, we'll actually do it 10 times and know that we have to get a statistic higher than 80% of accuracy in order before you accept the results. Otherwise, you toss the results, move on, right? Like kick that out to a human, et cetera. It's very powerful, but you have to know and understand its limitations.
gotcha. And it is within, I mean, you're doing it. It's totally doable now to have these boxes in your office under your control and not worry about security issues, which are significant, not worry about, having your data stolen or misappropriated, which is very possible and very doable. Not worry about the bag of chips phenomenon where, today you're getting a really good service and a year from now you're getting, three potato chips in a bag. Um, which seems to be the way of the world, right? It seems that
Yep.
everything gets watered down, but this way you're not going to experience it. The other thing you pointed out, I've experienced this too. Some days ChatGPT and Claude are really smart. Other times they're really not that bright,
Yep.
and the IQ seems to vary like dramatically.
It
Um,
does. There's actually services that track how good it is that day actually
oh,
now.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to encourage everybody to go to um, startup hack, HAKK.com. And it's the same name on YouTube. your shows are so great, Spencer.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Appreciate
mean,
it.
they're really excellent. On the one, so even if you're, first of all, if you're a practical person that's got to put this into play, you're going to learn a tremendous amount. But if you're just somebody that just also wants to know, okay, what's real here? What's real? I hear the hype and I hear the naysayers. Where's the, as you were saying, the middle way? And like as I said in the beginning of the call, it's like, you're gonna if you want to learn about pipes and plumbing, you go to a guy who's been a plumber for 20 years. You don't go to a CNBC CTO theorist about the
Yep.
wonderful world of plumbing because he doesn't never put a pipe together, and,
Exactly.
and also never had the consequences of getting it wrong. Because I'm sure that when you do things for clients, when you're being their CTO, because do you still do the fractional CTO?
We do.
You
Yep.
do. Yeah, I mean that's a very heavy responsibility. That's not like a trivial, country club. Hey, let's all hang around and pat each other on the back. That's like get this thing done and get it right, and it shouldn't break and it shouldn't be stealable.
Yep.
So it's startup hack, special Spencer Thomason. So many things, the YouTube channel, the things that we've described here. If you got a young person at home who kind of wants to learn can you train people remotely, or does it have to be in those states?
Well, we're a registered apprentice in those states, but we do offer opportunities for anybody who wants to be able to learn. So hit us up.
Okay. I really can't imagine a better person to learn from,
Well, thank you.
especially today, who wants to be practical and knowledgeable on this particular new edge of stuff. Because again, this is real. The question is how is it going to manifest? And I think you want your own machines. I think that's the way to go.
I agree.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Spencer.
Thank you. Appreciate it.